Just like anything else in life, there are many things that are flawed and wrong. Most of these flaws are simple. You can look at what caused them, why they're wrong, how to fix them, and do just that, and move on. But just like anything else in life, Juke's Towers of Hell has its fair share of flaws. In this series, I'm going to take a look at different subjects and things in the game that I believe that are flawed, go over the history behind them, where they are now, and possible solutions to fix them. My name is Logan ISL, and welcome to the first episode of JTO Flawed. Let's talk about something that's been brewing up a storm in JTO for the last few weeks. Elite Obbyist. For those of you living under a rock, Elite Obbyist is a role in the JTO Discord that is given to anyone who has beaten a soul-crushing difficulty tower, which is insane and above. This role sounds very harmless. It's just a role that's given to those who are among the best in the game. Elite Obbyist, or EOs for short, have their stereotypes and issues, however, whether it would be heavily downplaying difficulties of towers, or just being straight up stupid, and even to the point where bullying occurs. Recently, this role has been stirring up immense drama, as the rarity of this role is almost non-existent. There are pictures of showing over 100 Elite Obbyists online at once. That doesn't even show the other people who are Builder and above who are also Elite Obbyists. So, people inevitably are wanting this role to be reworked due to its rarity pretty much being abolished. The community thinks overall this role has caused more harm than good. Even with the community agreeing, the role should be changed to be extreme and above. So how did this happen? Why was this role made? How did we get here? While this might just seem a simple little role with absolutely no meaning to it, there was a reason it was made, and with it, a long story. Back when JTO was owned by Oberon, or back then Kitty, and known as Kato, there was the original difficulty chart, which had nicknames, like for example, Intense was known as Good Luck Buddy. Remorseless was also known as Eggplant back then. You can see the original difficulty chart and its names back in the very old speedruns of Kato, most notably in It Nice's TOSP speedrun back in mid-August 2018, back when there was no chart and just portal colors. On September 17th, 2018, the Ring update came out, which introduced Kitty's Inferno, 9 rings full of hellish towers, the difficulty chart, and some new towers. We got TOKY, TOS, TOR, TOTS, and one more tower, which was so hard it needed a new difficulty above the back then Eggplant. A Slayer was added to the very top, like what Nil was a teal blue, the same as Terrifying today, and was back then called Godspeed. The tower? Tower of Confusion. Yep, you heard me right, TOC was indeed in Ring 1. Unfortunately, TOC lasted a whole 12 hours before it was removed from Ring 1 due to lag issues it was causing. This was a time, though, where practice didn't exist. There was VM, however, there was a VM barrier on TOC, and VM was off sale anyway, and only like 5 people had it. So you had to learn by trial and error. Models weren't public either, so only a few select people made it to Floor 2, when it was in Ring 1. And we didn't know how easy it was when you got to Floor 4. Hell, we didn't even know about Side B, really. However, a couple months later, Ring 3 came out, and with it, the Room of Absolute Garbage. Oberon wanted a Godspeed tower in the game, so TOC was added into Ring 3, and It Nice also gave it some buffs compared to the Ring 1 version. However, this was a time that Koi was the only victor of Tower of True Skill, so the community wasn't ready for a tower of this difficulty when it was added in. Quickly became a huge problem. The only people actually beating this tower used an item, the bootleg coil. Back then, beating TOC with a coil was actually seen as a pretty good achievement, and as I said, no one knew about this tower getting easier when you got up. However, even though this tower was miles too hard for the community at the time, It Nice got furious. He wanted a coil barrier to be added so that people couldn't beat it without doing it legit. A couple days later, after a few people had beaten TOC with coil, It Nice got his wish. A new coil barrier was added to Kato and would be for all Godspeed towers. However, quickly there was a problem. In the beginning of November, all the winners of the Halloween event for 2018 got a prize, the fabled and very rare bootleg Ghost Coil. It gave 1/8 more jump power than the original coil, and only 80 people had this item. After having this and being so happy and excited, I thought of something. Is there a Ghost Coil barrier on TOC? I was on a call with Chloe on the morning of November 15th, 2018 when I asked him this question. Chloe got to the top and sure enough, the coil barrier did not work. Later that day, I became the newest victor of TOC. While I expected this to get patched quickly, it actually didn't. But it nice sealed his doom when he started deleting people's Ghost Coil runs on TOC from Kato Tower winners, as he was a staff member at the time. That also doesn't go into mention about the sheer toxicity me and the other Ghost victors of TOC got, but that is a topic for another video. This prompted me and Chloe to rebeat it as much as possible. On November 18th, 2018, when I was rebeating it again, Chloe, Kitten Lord, and Ice and Salt came online. After 3 hours, all 4 of us were at the very top, using bootleg Ghost Coil to beat TOC. After this event, with Ice and Salt being the 10th victor of TOC, he would be the last person to beat it with Ghost Coil as it was finally patched. While 10 people doesn't sound like a lot, remember, this is 2018 when the game only had about 50 players playing on peak times. So 10 people was actually a lot at this time, more than TOTS coil wins, believe it or not. Inevitably though, someone had to have beaten TOC, and this is finally when the EO role comes to play. At the end of November 2018, all of us were shocked when we came online and heard that TOC was defeated, when Goose 4000 became the first victor. No one saw this coming, due to him being the only legit victor. It seemed right that he got a reward, and he did. The I Beat TOC role. So there you have it. Goose 4000 is the OG Elite Obbyist. A couple days later though, Tower difficulty chart was added into Ring 2, and the role was changed to Elite Obbyist. So it was simple. A simple bit of anger over 10 people beating a tower with coil got one of the most controversial things inside of the game to occur. So how did this simple role become the mad issue that it is today? As the community got better and better, and there were more and more options for towers to choose from, more and more people were getting this role. One of the first issues that this role faced was in late 2018, where former developer Maple Yavas went ahead and gave people this role for beating what was, at the time, an extremely easy R15 obby, which caused some controversy. But the role started getting to the point where there was a divide in the community, where EOs would think that they were better than anyone else and started flexing on people. This started to get the community to hate the EO role. EO also started becoming a whole stereotype, where people with EO were dumb. Certain EOs started calling towers like TOFN remorseless difficulty, and overall, these people downplaying difficulties to towers, which got the community mad. Among vast bullying, flexing, and just overall toxicity with the role, there was also a problem which slowly got the EO role to become increasingly more common. When Ring 4 was released, you needed video proof that you beat an SC to get Elite Obbyist, but for some reason, this slowly was drifted out. Now all you need is a simple win message in order to get the role. Hell, when I beat Toga, I just DM'd the mod and they gave it right away to me. I don't know if they even looked through tower winners. While this might not seem like an issue, you could be like this guy in Infinite Jump NSC, get the CPs, and get to the top, and win, and boom, you're Elite Obbyist. It got to the point where an official poll for EO was made by the JTO staff team. I asked a member of the staff team if I could see the results from this poll. They said they had to ask the staff for me to see the results, and nothing ever got back to me. However, if you look at the vast suggestions asking for EO to be moved to Extreme, as well as multiple community members saying this poll was in favor of the Extreme upgrade, we can assume that this was the result of the poll. On September 19th, 2020, Vendetta had a second poll asking if people believed EO caused a positive or negative impact on the community. 29% said it had a negative impact on the community, 66.6% said neutral or maybe, and a whole very slim 5% said it had a positive impact. So if 95% of the community think it's had none or a negative impact, with many calling for revamps with a pretty high like ratio, why is nothing being done? This is where I come into the solutions for Elite Obbyist, and I have 4 of them. Let's talk about the first solution, which is literally just to restart the whole roll over again. Remove everyone's elite Obbyist, and require video proof that you've beaten the entire tower. It can have cuts of you going back up to where you've fallen and stuff. I know all of you are going to cry lower end devices and mobile players, but hear me out here. Elite Obbyist gives you absolutely no privileges at all. I know you're going to go, but what about those playtester applications that Ebot did? Well, those are gone. Nothing is being done with them. Hell, that role has been deleted entirely. So if there's no benefits to Elite Obbyist at all, what's the point if you don't have the role? I think it's better if it's just confidential. But now, Logan, you may ask, why remove everyone's EO? Well, this is to make sure that the only EOs that exist have video proof, but there's something that happened recently that's causing a bit of debate. Tower difficulty chart, the classic version, was removed from the Elite Obbyist program, meaning you couldn't beat difficulty chart classic in order to get Elite Obbyist. The people, however, that had only beaten difficulty chart classic as their only SC did not get their Elite Obbyist taken away, which I think is unfair. Why can someone who beat TODCC a year ago keep their EO, but someone who beat it yesterday can't? I feel like this is enough for a solution, but I think EO should be excessively for those who went above and beyond. So here's the second solution. This is where things start to get controversial. Solution number 1 is still in play, but with the addition of removing the following towers from the Elite Obbyist program. Tower of Glitching and Healing, Tower of Difficulty Chart Classic, Tower of Double Trouble, Tower of Confusion, and maybe Tower of Difficulty Chart Revamp. Why? Let's first talk about Toga, or Tower of Glitching and Healing. It really wasn't supposed to be a soul crushing in the first place. It was automatically added into the game by its creator and automatically given intense. People quickly realized though that, well, with its GBJs and stuff, it isn't so intense, so they moved it to Remorseless. One day, however, after a poll, they moved up TOCN and Toga to Insane after difficulty polls showed in favor of these two towers being SC. However, the staff quickly realized the community played them over to try and get an easier SC added to the game. So therefore, TOCN was moved back to Remorseless. However, Toga stuck, and today is known as the easiest SC in the game that gives you EO at least. Common consensus of the community, including myself, think it's mid-high Remorseless. However, I do understand why it was kept SC. Back then we didn't have consistent techniques for stuff like glitch wrapping, which caused Toga to be considered RNG. But now we have side clipping, so that removes Toga. What about Difficulty Chart Classic? Well, here's my stance on this one. It's simple. You're good at wall hops, you win. Free soul crushing. Remember when before Difficulty Chart Revamp existed and pretty much every single soul crushing win was pretty much Difficulty Chart Classic? Yeah, this shouldn't be part of the Elite Obbyist program. But Logan, why Double Trouble? Well, it's a low insane, first of all, and yes, Side C sucks, and yes, it's insane, but I don't think it's Elite Obbyist worthy. It just doesn't feel right to me. It's still a good achievement, but if this existed as part of the Elite Obbyist program, there would be a gap between Double Trouble, Inevitable Failure, and Difficulty Chart Revamp, which is why I don't think it belongs. Tower of Confusion, while it is extreme difficulty, this was still when people didn't understand how hard TOC was past Floor 3, so it was given extreme when the soul crushing difficulties were added in 2018. However, we all know that's a low insane, so for the same reason as TODT, I think this doesn't belong. The reason why though I say maybe Difficulty Chart Revamp is it's something I'm trying to beat right now, and personally, I feel like it's only mid-Remorseless. I passed the Evil Trust Jump on Terrifying, so I think I have a say, but I've seen multiple suggestions asking for this to be made by Extreme. But me and my friends don't think it's a soul crushing, so I don't know where to stand on this one. I though think this shouldn't be part of the program. I think Inevitable Failure is a good stance. It has very janky gameplay style that's very weird, and I feel like this should be the baseline of someone being called elite, not some tower that was made insane after a poll in which many people disagree with today. If you can't deal with the janky style, then Thanos Tower and Thinning Layers I think is sufficient, not extreme and above. Thanos Tower and Thinning Layers are significant achievements. I would bow down to you and say you're an EO. I hope you all are in for a laugh, but as a Kato veteran, I have to point this out. What about making Elite Obbyist require a fully legitimate catastrophic tower win? I know all of you are going to laugh and go, who the hell is this guy? Thinking people are actually going to be Tower and TOGF fully legit? Remember though, the Elite Obbyist role used to be a very exclusive club of people. It only anticipated for maybe 1 or 2 people to be added to the club every month. Current, there are about 170 people that have EO as of now. If we want to be down to the book of what Elite Obbyist was supposed to be, this is the solution we would stick with. Plus, Elite Obbyist is just that. Elite Obbyist. The definition of elite is a select group that is superior in terms of ability or qualities to the rest of a group or society. I think the word elite starts to get stale when 100 people have a role. Yes, if 100 people had it, of the 6.3 million who've played JTO, 0.02% of people would be of the elite. This is perspective, but I think elite means a group of a very few. 50 at most. Simple. Remove the role entirely. It's honestly sad that I've spent hours making a video on something that doesn't matter. Who cares if there's a special role that shows you're better than anyone? Even then, if EO was revamped, I am willing to bet you the same issues will remain. The same stereotypes will remain, the bullying will remain, and the flexing will remain. I've been in this community for 2 years, and I know how it is by now. So remove the role entirely. There's no special tagging game, there's no special powers Elite Obbyist get, no special items, nothing. What's the sense of the fight in the first place? 1/4 of the community says it for sure has a negative impact, while 2/3 say maybe, and a whole measly 5% think it's had a positive impact for it. So, here's my question. If only 5% of the people in this community can say for sure it's had a positive impact, why keep it? What's the sense? If the community cannot agree, and people keep complaining about its toxicity, what's the point of revamping it? I think it's simple. Just remove it. Personally, solution number 4 I think is more favorable for the future of this community. I have been here for 2 years, and if I have seen anything, if things like EO are just revamped, the same issues will remain. In the description though, I have made a straw poll where you can vote on which solution you think is best, or if keeping the role is simply the best way. Please note though, in terms of future episodes, history of the game is extremely hard to come by, and this is probably the most documented thing I will be able to include in this series, as the original Discord where much of this stuff was, is deleted. What I'm saying is, stuff in future episodes is likely to come from player memory. That's it. However, what do you think about Elite Obbyist? I would like to hear your opinions in the comments. Just be nice. Thank you all for watching. I am Logan ISL. I hope to see you later.